Cristiano sold fruit in the park and was loved by everyone there. He was always attentive to help those in need, and there was a girl who every day bought pineapple from him as an excuse to talk to him without daring to ask him out and waiting for him to notice. Cristiano had fallen in love with her from the first time he had seen her, and although he was not shy in front of her, he seemed to forget his vocabulary and just shakily handed her the fruit she asked for. One day, however, they were able to forget all their blocks in the middle of an accomplice rain that just when she had approached to buy her pineapple suddenly fell. Thus, protected by the umbrella of her fruit cart, they had to spend an hour together that changed everything. In that hour, while the rain was pouring down, they had the impulse to embrace, and they didn't want to let go. At that moment, their hearts beat in unison, and they understood that they wanted to be together for the rest of their lives.
If you like our content and want to see more, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell to receive the latest videos. Now, enjoy the story.
And because they wanted to be together, they always felt they had nothing to wait for, and so in less than a month, they were already living together against all the good judgment of both of them, who had said that the day they liked someone, they would take the time to get to know each other and be sure. But in both of them, there was urgency, as if they knew that no matter how much they wished, they would not spend that much time together. Their eagerness was a premonition, but they didn't know it at the time. Meanwhile, Cristiano and his girlfriend enjoyed being together and married 3 months after they met. With their marriage also came a much-desired pregnancy that made them immensely happy and filled Cristiano with anxiety during those 9 months, as he couldn't wait to meet his daughter as soon as possible. Between them, everything seemed to pass too fast, as if time was an illusion that did not affect them at all. When they saw their daughter for the first time, they decided that her name would be Natalia. The baby was beautiful and was the perfect combination of both of them, to the point that no one could decide which of the two parents she looked like more. The joy that filled their hearts was so deep that there was no room for uncertainty about their modest resources and no fear of the future. But fear caught up with them one day, and there was no turning back. A little more than 2 years after they met, Cristiano was diagnosed with an incurable disease that kept him in bed for several months, during which his health slowly and irreversibly deteriorated until they could no longer hide the truth from Natalia, who knew something was wrong. It was one day when she saw her father faint and vomit when they could no longer hide what was happening, or continue telling her that her father had lost his hair because he had decided so and shaved his head every day. And it was Cristiano himself who took it upon himself to tell her what was going on, because from the beginning he had expressed his disagreement with hiding things from the child, because she had as much right to know as anyone else. Natalia was only 3 years old, but she was furious every time the adults tried to hide from her what was really going on with her father. She knew he was sick, and she was aware that what he had was serious. Natalia knew that her father was in danger of death, so it seemed silly for her mother and other family members to tell her that everything was going to be fine and that he had nothing, when she knew the truth and could understand. Her father, on the other hand, always knew that Natalia was capable of understanding what was happening and never tried to disguise his feelings. That is why, during the months of his convalescence, the little girl became his best friend. She was the only one who accompanied him with all her love and treated him naturally, while the others were always in an attitude of mercy and wanted to disguise the reality, which made him feel even worse. He needed to feel that he was still a normal person, and he didn't want anyone to pity him. Natalia was the only one who understood him, and that's why she was the companion he wanted the most. They spent the afternoons together playing games, watching programs, and talking, and those hours were for Cristiano the most valuable of his whole life, and only then did he manage to distract himself from his illness and feel like he used to. But father and daughter were aware that the disease would not let up, and so, days before the fatal outcome, the two said goodbyes to each other. One afternoon, they didn't feel like playing or talking. They simply hugged each other for hours, while discreet tears ran down their cheeks. They didn't have to say anything for both of them to understand at that moment that their love would transcend the barriers of time, and that although they would not be together physically for much longer, their hearts and spirits would remain united until eternity. After that afternoon, Cristiano began to say goodbye to his wife, although she did not accept his farewell and refused to accept what she considered a surrender on the part of her husband. He already knew that he would die soon, and his wife didn't understand that precisely this acceptance of his fate was even more courageous than continuing to fight a losing battle. His other loved ones did not know how to accept it in time either, so they could not feel the same peace that little Natalia felt when the moment of his departure finally came. Cristiano died peacefully one morning with his wife and daughter. The wife was hysterical because she had not been able to have closure and say goodbye to him with sincerity. She had not done so when she could, and now it was too late. Natalia, on the other hand, wept silently, but in her heart there was peace. The calm of having done things right and of having understood that her father was now at rest, and that he had left this physical world but would never leave their hearts. On the day of the funeral, the whole family was submerged in a sea of tears and desolation. Natalia still felt her father's presence and was calm, but the grief in the air made her sad. So, she wanted to be physically close to her father one last time and asked her mother to let her hug him in the casket. She was reluctant at first but agreed when she realized that she had no valid reason to deny her this last act of love. So, Natalia hugged him and felt her father's cold skin against her cheek, but she did not cry. She knew that even though his body was no longer inhabited by a soul, the same soul was still surrounding them, and she said a few last words to him. A simple, "I will always love you and remember you." That made everyone cry. But no one imagined the shock they would feel just a second later. Because in front of her stunned mother, they both saw when on his calm face appeared an impossible but slight smile that later all the attendants one by one had the chance to see. No one could believe their eyes, and their hearts were shaken to their core. Cristiano from the beyond had given a last and indelible proof of the love he felt for his daughter that marked them all forever. Natalia would live with that memory for the rest of her life, and when she grew up, she proudly told, although no one believed her, that her father had smiled at her from his coffin. As she had promised, she never forgot him and never stopped loving him deeply. Although she had only shared with him the first 3 years of her life, and memories at that age tend to fade with the passage of time, Natalia remembered every moment at her father's side as if she had lived it yesterday. She had all the moments so present that at 25 years old, she still remembered her feelings from that time and felt even closer to him. It would be unfair to say that Natalia did not feel the same way about her mother. She also loved her mother deeply, but her soulmate had been her father, and none of that ever changed, not even when she herself got married and started her own family. In Natalia's heart, there was always enough love for all of them, and her father inspired her and sheltered her soul until the last of her days. Natalia had a long and happy life, and her children remember that her last words before she died were, "Soon we will be together again, Daddy." If you like this story, please like and share it with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it with someone who may find it interesting. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.